Nivaleth. Since the weather was so beautiful, they decided to hold the tea ceremony outside. To enjoy a very special view of the sea, the group went behind the lighthouse. From there, they could see the sparkling water best, and the sun was positioned perfectly so it wouldn't shine directly into their faces. There stood a large porch swing. They helped Zelira settle onto it. "Did you build the swing just for her?" Perry asked enthusiastically. Jasper smiled and replied that this was indeed the case. Zelira fit into it perfectly. In a shed, Jasper kept a few additional pieces of furniture and other items. From there, he pulled out a lovely garden set and arranged the table and chairs near the swing so everyone could reach the table. Dusty didn't need a chair, he simply sat down on the ground. When he supported himself on his front legs, he could oversee everything perfectly. Once Perry had also taken a seat, Jasper disappeared inside the lighthouse to prepare the magical tea. The air was wonderfully fresh, and a gentle breeze played through their hair. Perry talked with Zelira. She had known Jasper for a long time. Back then, he had discovered her during a dive in a reef. Curious, she had swum over to him, and immediately there had been this unique connection. Jasper was very loving and considerate, she reminisced. How wonderful that the two of you found each other, and although you live in such different lives, you still care for one another, Perry said. Then they heard a rattling sound. Jasper approached them with a huge tray and placed a cup, spoon and saucer for each of them on the table. "I'll bring you the plate with the cookies now, and in the meantime the tea should have steeped properly," he said with a smile. Dusty licked his snout when he heard the word cookies. In addition to the cookies, he placed a large pot of plant cream and a jar of golden rock sugar on the table. Perry admired the beautiful cup. It was pure white, with a gorgeous floral pattern of roses and lavender blossoms. The teapot Jasper returned with was designed the same way. Steam rose from it promisingly, and everyone relaxed even more. "This is a very special blend of black tea combined with blue rose, dried oak blossoms, and caramelized lavender root," Jasper announced. Perry could hardly wait to taste the tea. "Are you familiar with Oracle rock sugar?" Jasper asked Perry and Dusty. "I'm afraid not. We've never heard of anything like that," Perry replied eagerly. Jasper explained how the magical oracle worked. You did the following. First, you had to place a piece of rock sugar into your cup. Then you poured the tea directly over it. Next, you waited for a sound that resembled a faint cracking. That meant the sugar crystal had opened through the hot water. Now the magic flowed out of it. The final step was to pour the cream into the cup in a circular motion. And then the cream floating on the surface will form either a symbol, a letter, or in some cases even a number, Jasper said. And from this symbol you can read your future. For example, a book that you will learn a lot of new things in the future. A heart, of course, usually stands for love, you will find, he added. If I get an apple, will I receive many apples? Dusty joked, and they laughed. Because the rock sugar is magical, the oracle can even appear in color, in form of a red apple, Jasper replied, laughing. Everyone took a piece of rock sugar and placed it into their cup. Then Jasper poured the tea individually. He started with Perry. The sound of the pouring sent Perry into a meditative state. An unbelievably good scent, impossible to describe, rose into his nose. He listened for the crackling. And indeed, after a few seconds, he heard it. The tea had a deep Bordeaux red color. Let's see what my future holds, Perry thought, and poured the cream into the cup in a circular motion, just as Jasper had instructed. For a little while, nothing happened. The cream had sunk to the bottom. But then small droplets rose to the surface again and actually formed a shape. Perry examined it with interest. It was a small flower. From a thin, delicate stem covered with tiny hairs rose a small wreath of petals. The petals were white and looked almost translucent. At their tips was a hint of soft pink, as if someone had touched them lightly with red ink. The stigma was round and yellow, making the whole flower look like a tiny shining sun. Perry admired it for quite some time, and the others also looked at it closely. Then he finally said, "I've never seen a flower like this before. What is its name? And does anyone know it?" Jasper scratched his bald chin thoughtfully, but replied that he had never seen such a flower either. Zelira was familiar only with deep sea blossoms, and Dusty said that even he, an absolute flower expert, couldn't tell what kind of specimen this was. Perry smirked and examined it again. For some reason he felt that same strangely beautiful energy that the lady in his dream had possessed. Could this flower be connected to her? Now was a good moment to tell them about his dream. "Maybe this flower is a symbol for that lady from your dream, and you will meet her soon?" Zelira mused. Jasper said it could also be that Perry would find his luck in the place where this plant grew. They pondered for a while before Jasper poured Dusty's tea to discover his future. "Good heavens, a golden horseshoe!" the pony cried and jumped up excitedly. "I'm going to become a royal member of the royal pony community," he added. Perry and the others laughed and applauded enthusiastically. "You will be the most majestic pony of them all," Perry said proudly and ran his hand through his friend's mane. Jasper too was overjoyed with his oracle. In his teacup a colorful fish tail formed from many colors, the very same as the one Zelira had. Jasper was speechless with happiness, and Zelira beamed from ear to ear. "That has been my deepest wish for so long. That way we could swim through the sea together," Jasper said, and gazed lovingly at the mermaid. Perry was deeply touched by the scene. There was nothing more beautiful than spending time with a loved one. Zelira's cream formed a huge golden heart. It was now obvious that the two of them would soon become a couple. Luckily, the tea was still warm and magical when they finally drank it. Thanks to the cream, it had taken on a hazelnut brown color. The taste reminded Perry of a freshly baked cake, sweet, warm, and buttery. Dusty carefully sipped at his cup with his front lip, which looked very dignified. "I'm practicing for the tea hour with the Queen," he explained. When they had all drunk more than enough tea, Jasper suggested eating a few digestion-promoting flowers. With their help, the effect of the tea could unfold even better in the stomach. Zelira waited on the swing while the others went to fetch Velora. Jasper knew exactly where they could find some. On the north side of his tower, this type of flower grew in great numbers. They climbed up the walls like ivy. Indeed, almost the entire tower was covered with Veloras. Perry picked one of them. It had O-shaped leaves. That meant the leaves consisted only of an empty circle. However, a flower had many layers, so you still had something to chew on. The inside always had a different shape, sometimes round, sometimes square. Perry began tasting a few of them. He said, as he noticed the sweet taste of fresh mint and chocolate. Dusty devoured a considerable amount and was hardly to be stopped. He loved this flavor. Jasper shoved a few blossoms into his mouth and said gratefully, "I ate them often. They are very tasty and healthy." After they had eaten a large quantity, they returned to Zelira to bring her some as well.